Hey everybody, it's time for a live stream. Or at least I assume today's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, yeah. I'm on call, so if I get a call, I might just have to suddenly stop. That'll suck, but it is what it is. How's everybody? Is there anybody? Let's see. Viewer activity. We'll select here. Analytics. Oh, we got 3 viewers. Shark and Lila. Hello. Going to talk about Unique Toys Alan, a very plainly named triple changer. I've had this guy for a long time. He went on sale, I don't know, a couple of years ago for like $40 somewhere, and I was like, yeah, I'll pay $40 for that. They kind of grow on you. The face is a little derpy, you know? I don't know. It's kind of hard to capture it on camera, but he's got like kind of a weird, I don't know. It ain't quite right. Someone said the open and play is like the best one. I like how that robot mode on that looks. The car mode is a little weird because there's like not much to the back of the car. But yeah, this guy's all right. I guess we'll go through the transformation with commentary, just in case there's anything interesting to explain. This is one of the earliest unique toys. This is Y04. Now, Y01 was Provider, which is a really clever triple changer. Y02 was Buzzing, which isn't a triple changer, but it was a third-party rendition of Blur. Pretty good figure. I don't have it, but I've been tempted to get it just to, you know, like have every one of these. But this is Y04 Alan. And this is the figure that they produced right before that Y05 was going to be Peru Kill, and they decided to change the name designation. So Peru Kill ended up being like R01 or whatever. But this was their last G1 figure before they got really ingenious. He's not bad. He's got some clever twists and turns with him. Put him on the lower stage to focus on the arms here. It helps to collapse the arms first. You pull out this tab, you turn it around, and you collapse the arm at the elbow, the ratcheted elbow joint, and an additional joint that lets it collapse like that, and then you close it up. And with the arm collapsed, it can be a little tight sometimes. I tend to push on the hand. You could turn it if you want to make sure you don't pop it off the mushroom peg, but I haven't had a problem with it yet. And then I push back against this tab, and you get it open. The arm is considerably more difficult to open like that when you've got the elbow still extended. So it helps to collapse the arm first and then do this part. But you just flip the fist around and put it back in. I always like figures where you don't have to muck with the fist. It's always kind of annoying when to put the fist away you've got to like put it in just the right position. I had a Yamato that was like that. Macross Jet. How does it feel? All right. And we turn these things around for a reason that becomes apparent in a moment. And then you kind of have to get this stuff out of the way so that there's room here, for this to lift up, like kind of hyperextend all the way up. I haven't decided where we're going. I guess we're going to car mode. We'll finish with helicopter mode because that's the strongest one, I think. Although I guess I'll have to go back to robot if I'm going to put them back on display. But these just go together. They don't tab together or anything, mostly because this top piece kind of grabs everything. There's a couple of tabs here that, so that's that. And then you can kind of go ahead. The head rockers forward and turns around. And I just like to go ahead and have this set, which means this has to sit at a little bit of an angle. Now I always have something that I call primordial mode, but I've discovered, I was looking for a good example, maybe if someone can think of the simplest triple changer you can think of in recent years. But I didn't want to have to like relearn any of the more complex. I was looking at Siege or Classics, Blitzwing, and I don't know. I couldn't decide on one. It'd be great to have something simple that was like, you know, what the idea behind primordial mode was. I don't know. Like this could serve as an example. So this is one mode, and this is another mode, and this is a third mode. So primordial mode is whatever is exactly halfway between all those, so that when you stitch it together, you don't have like weird recursive movements. So you wouldn't want to transform from like this mode to this mode by accidentally like putting this away and then bringing it back out and then putting this out. So primordial mode can't be this, because it would just look weird. So you go, you know, mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, back to mode 1, back to mode 3. This is falling apart now. Back to mode 2, back to mode 1, so that you can cycle through all of the modes in those steps. There's always going to be 6 transitions. You're going from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 to 2, 3 to 1. And you get, that way you do all the transitions. But you don't want to have to shoot all that. You don't want to have to shoot, you don't want to have to like do a car mode and then do all the steps to get to plane mode or helicopter mode, and then do all the steps to get to robot mode, and then do all the steps to get back to car mode. And so what you need is an in-between mode, and you know, for this it might be something like that. But you need something that's like halfway between everything. So we're approaching the primordial mode. I like to get this set like that so I can turn it upside down and do the legs. So we're not quite to primordial yet, because you know, the vehicle mode and the helicopter mode don't have legs like this. None of these parts are arranged that way for those two modes. So this is the odd mode out. When I was playing around with that 6 changer that someone kindly loaned me, okay, we're going to car mode, so I'm going to leave that the hell alone. This lines up like that, and then these flip up. This goes out of the way, and then this whole thing turns around. And now this is primordial, because 2 of the modes share this configuration. Not this part, but this configuration is shared by 2. And you find that with triple changers. There's always 2 modes that will share a configuration, and 1 mode that's the odd one out. And so, just like the robot legs are the odd one out, leg mode is not primordial. Both the modes have this detached, so that's more primordial. But it does allow the shoot to take a little less effort, because what I can do is in the case of this guy, I started in car mode, and I transformed it to the primordial, and then immediately just transformed it into plane mode or helicopter mode. And then, you know, off camera, I put the whole thing back to primordial, and I recorded where my camera was sitting at that point, so I recreated the camera position. And then I'm back at primordial, and then I go to robot mode. So later on, when I edit, I have basically a sequence that's car to primordial, primordial to helicopter, and primordial to robot, and I can just reverse those sequences and stitch them together however I need to show all the different transitions. If you pay attention, you'll notice that like the slow part, the more demonstrative part of the video, those transitions are... Did I forget to turn this around? Did I? Yes. All those transitions are, I don't go through every possible transition with the slow mode. I'm just kind of showcasing the 3 modes and then going back to the original mode. And that way I can stitch it into the full like 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1 sequence in the speed run. And that way people, if they're like, how do you get straight from helicopter to car? Well, that's not in the regular run, but it's there in the speed run for people to refer to. There's comments. I thought it was Friday. Oh, it'll do that to you. Yeah, he's got a really fun color. He's like lime green. I'm not even really getting it with the... Let me actually saturate up a little bit and give you a better idea. Because he is green. I'm going to bring this down a notch. Not a notch, not 15 notches. But he's like a neon green. He's more like that. That camera right now looks like what my eye sees. It's very green. All right, so we can turn these around sideways now that those things are free. And then we flip these down. And you can turn them around lots of different times. You notice right now it kind of collides, so like I did in the video, I tend to just kind of keep them there until I get the other part done. This tab's a little bit right here. There's like a little bit of a tab there. And then this lifts up. This holds on to the front of the shin when he's in robot mode, so it goes away because 2 of the modes have this put away. And only one of them, so this is primordial. This is not. Only the robot mode has it like this. But the other 2 modes have it like that. I tried to find a primordial for a 6-changer. I was so enthusiastic after I did Blitzwing and what company was that? I did Astro Train and Blitzwing that were made by DX9. And that's the first time I realized there was kind of a primordial mode. And then I did like the 6-changer from DX9 and discovered to my bemusement that there really isn't a primordial mode for a 6-changer, because with a 3-changer you've got a nice little odd number. So this one would be the odd mode out, or this one would be the odd mode out for different components. With a 6-changer you could have these 2 have the same configuration for a part, and these 2 have the same configuration part. Maybe these 2 have 2 different configurations. So there's no consensus. There's no in between that can be arrived at for a 6-changer. So in that case, I just kind of I just navigated through a sequence between the different modes and then called it a day. There's, you can't actually find a sequence from me for some of the transitions because they weren't all accounted for. This goes up and tabs in. And this is primordial too, because both the car mode and the plane mode, these are like this. And that's just that. We're almost there. In fact, I think we're there. So this, and you have to have these go backwards. That is exactly halfway. And the only reason the car mode and plane mode have this down, but you have to allow for some things that would otherwise collide. So if you're going from helicopter or from car mode to helicopter mode, you actually do have to get this back out of the way and flip these out, and then you can put this down. So you might think that car mode and helicopter mode, since they're both like this would be the primordial for this joint. But you have to allow for this moving. So you run into some of those sorts of collisions sometimes, and that changes the primordial to be something different. XTB Springer, I just saw the pictures of that. I'd like to see some of the mode, or the I haven't seen the robot mode yet. XTB Springer is looks like it's going to be a good one. I like Transbot's engineering. They you end up with a lot of collisions or a lot of fiddly little moves you have to do to keep from having a collision. I refer you to the X-Transbots, the little Metro car, the recolor of skids that I did. That thing had like a lot of weird collisions, and you'd have to like kind of park parts and arrange things just so to avoid a collision, which isn't ideal for me, but a lot of their engineering is clever. I really enjoyed their Motor Master recently. And anyway, so from this primordial, we went from robot to primordial. So from this primordial, we can go to vehicle mode. So this stays here, and this just goes down. And then we can put this chest piece away. And this always has to, you know, even though it's here for both robot and or for car and helicopter mode, you always have to move it out of the way to transition between them, because you have to get these things out for helicopter mode. So that's why that would normally be kind of a robot mode positioning is actually used for car and helicopter, because you have to go through that to move some of the pieces around. The leg actually kind of extends here. So it's got a little Z hinge, but then it just goes down here in tabs. So it's pretty simple. We do the same thing on this one. You may not appreciate. Oh, and I forgot to do something between the modes. This is robot mode. These things are twisted this way for robot mode. And they actually twist this way for vehicle mode. So robot mode is kind of the default, but right before I started transitioning towards vehicle at any point, I do these first. So the primordial occurs right at the moment where these rotate, because I rotate to robot mode, which is most of a rotation, and then helicopter mode is this. So I kind of hid the transition between primordial and the other modes by doing it during that rotation. But anyway, this is the vehicle mode rotation. It puts them higher. So in robot mode, these just line up so that they can get put away inside the forearm properly. And in helicopter mode, you rotate them down like this because it puts them lower to tab onto those tabs there. So car mode, helicopter mode. Like I said, we're going to car mode, so we will stick with that. And I'm just leaving that gap open for now because I've got to put the rest of the parts away. You have to split this a little bit, and you'll see that happen in the video, but I didn't want to go through like this contrived, overly complicated pulling the wheels out at some other point, so I just kind of cheat the wheels out. But you get the wheels out for vehicle mode, and then you fold this flat. This actually tabs. It tabs down into a tab slot, and we'll do the same thing over here real quick. Just get everything lined up. And then this higher version of these configuration, they tab onto the tabs there, and then you can maybe angle the things out and put the cockpit in place. And there you have vehicle mode. Let's check comments before we move on. Sound wave. Never liked Unique Toys, their G1 approach was it's kind of a waxy plastic. I'm not saying it's sticky or tacky or anything, but it's a very dense plastic. And Provider had it, and it looks like Buzzing had it, but although I haven't handled Buzzing, but it looks like the same plastic, but it's like a very dense, it's a heavy figure too. I mean, there's like a chunk of die cast here for the toes, but it's like a very dense plastic. I feel like Six Shot might have had two primordial modes. His armored car, tank, and jet are fairly similar. Yeah, but there's just when you think about an individual joint, for robot mode the wheel is put away, and for plane mode the wheel is put away. So for this hinge right here, the primordial mode is not this, because it only does that for one mode. It's this because it's like that for two modes. And the problem with Six Shot is there was too many hinges that were, the same for two disparate modes. There was, if you had a six changer where every single hinge was in agreement for 5 of the modes and only one of the modes was different, then there would still be a primordial. But that would be a odd six changer. I mean, I could think of something that has 6 positions. I don't know. I'm not going to get too far into that. Does the faux robot mode front feel necessary? Normally I support faux robot parts, but Springer's vehicle and robot mode are the same size and shape. Well, this is smaller. I don't know. It really does seem like the same shape. It's an interesting question. It's very similar. I think it makes sense for what it is because they're trying to get rid of like this chunk here, and they're trying to fill in this chunk here. And so, you know, this fills it in nicely. It's, you know, a clever idea, but then you still need to bring a robot chest forward. So, I don't know. They are very similar, and they could have probably found some other way to get away with it, but I don't mind. It's not too bad. But you're right. I mean, it's like almost the same shape between the two. So we're going to go back to primordial and then to helicopter. So going back to primordial, we're just going to pop these out, pop these back flat. And mostly I put these in this position because you have to open them up, and it gave me a nice stable platform to stand it on its tail. So sometimes there's decisions, transformation decisions are made based on what kind of pose the figure can hold reasonably, because you don't want it. I can't hold it in midair and do stuff like pull the wheels out or whatever without each frame being, you know, a slightly different position. So you're better off anchoring it down one way or the other. So I did it like that. You kind of have to bend these this way to get them to untab, but we're just putting those back. And we do want to flip them. There's a little clearance issue there, not too bad, but we do want to flip them backwards in the final analysis. I'm just pulling them forward to get the tab released. And down. These are the same. And then this goes out of the way a little bit. This rocks up almost all the way. And then we rotate these into helicopter mode. And now we're just past the primordial now, because now these are in helicopter mode. And so we flip out these braces. They just slide shut. And then we put this back. And we put this back. But it's a fairly straightforward triple changer. It's much more pleasant. I handled Fans Toys was super tedious. Especially the ankle, like you're never sure when you're done, and the instructions just aren't all that clear about like what the position should be. They just show you like arrows of things moving, and then they never give you that critical drawing of or picture of what the position is supposed to be when you're done with the movement. I find X-Transbots is actually really good about that. They'll show a picture of something with an arrow moving, and then another picture that's basically like this check mark, you know. So it's nice of them to do it that way. So you pull down the landing gear, and that gives you room to flip this over. So that kind of hides the wheel of one of the car wheels, which is clever. I'm not going to get into it because it's a very tight joint, but these things flip out. And it's like a real pain in the ass to get them to flip out. It's almost better just to use like a blade to separate that joint. I mean, you can kind of, since this is a guide video, you can kind of tweak the joint this way, like push it on a little bit so that you can get your fingernail on the edge that rises up. But especially with gloves on, I guess I have a little trouble with that. But I'm not going to bother with it. This flips open for the first time because this is now a helicopter mode moment. You can put the landing gear down, and you can put these away, but they're really hard to dig out. I don't want to dig them out, but you can see that goes away like that. It just gives you a different angle here instead of that squared off angle. But I'm just going to leave them squared off. And then we just bring the tail together. And we bring these here. And there's a relatively complete transformation of the helicopter mode, minus those details. And the sword splits apart and flips around and goes back together, and you got your rotors. All right. Favorite Transformer, Shockwave from Bayformers. Are you talking about the recent Shockwave? It doesn't transform much, but it's pleasant. It looks cool. The Megatron that goes with MPP-10 deformation era oversized. Gosh, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Instead of it being all chunky. The faux chest works with this one too. Not so much with XTB Toro. Okay. I'm not familiar with Toro. And so for the sake of my collection display, I will take them back to robot mode. So I'm just going to do that without as much commentary because you've seen all the steps now. And we're back at primordial. And we can take care of the legs. It's just a really good idea to go ahead and do these now where you've got a good clearance for them. These rotate to the front and then collapse down. Goes peg. And then we can close these up. Oh, I've got to flip these, you got to flip those little bits out. There we go. This is a really uncomfortable position to stay in for a very long time. These out to the front. Tab the shins in. And the legs out to the side. These up, rotate it around, flip it back down. This goes sideways first and then goes into the back of the foot there. And this one has to turn so his feet are faced the right way. Do the same thing over here. All right. Now his big chunky legs are done. I mean, he's not going anywhere with legs like that. You know, he's not falling over or nothing. So it helps to clear this area a little bit so we can just go ahead and put that flat. Because otherwise this is kind of in the way, and this is in the way of that, and this is in the way of that. So clear the area. And then we still need this little spot here so this can lift up. Put this little tab away. Flip the arms out. And then with the arms completely flat, you can see those tabs there. I'm talking about right there. And those travel with the arm hinge. Get the arm hinge to move. So it's like a double hinge. But you just want those to be flat. You want that hinge to be flat so that the pegs can go into those two holes there. Yeah. Otherwise they don't line up right. But that kind of locks it together. And then we can finish putting this away, put that away, flip the head back, rotate it around. All off camera for your viewing pleasure. And then we go ahead and do the hands because it's easier to open these when the elbows are compressed. Flip this open, turn it around, flip this out. And there's actually a tab and a tab hole there that kind of lock the arm, which is nice. I like details like that. Come on, buddy. You're angled. You're still doing it. There you go.
rotate that in. Rotate these things. These actually tab and kind of lock the chest together. So you can see the tabs and the holes. And then put them back in robot mode. Keep them on screen through most of the video because YouTube will tend to pick that as the picture. So I don't have to manually do a picture. And then put in his weapons and accessories. And this is all he comes with. He's no muss, no fuss. He doesn't come with like a little action figure or anything. He just comes with his sword and his gun. Come on, buddy. Come on now. Where is your slot? Like a lot of these things, this is actually kind of a pain in the ass to do. Come on. Oh, I've got it backwards is why. Ugh. Alright. And then this one I can't get backwards. Close the fist and leave the finger out like he's pulling it gets around a trigger, which is nice. And then there he is. Back to robot mode, ready to go on display. Boy, I'm behind the conversation. How am I getting along with Sandstorm? Well, that was the next thing I was going to touch on because I thought you might find this amusing. And it's part of the reason I spent so much time harping on about the primordial mode. The mode that is halfway between the other modes. So I'm not going to get into Sandstorm much right now because I'm going to do it next Wednesday. But this, God help us, laying down, unfortunately. That, ladies and germs, is the primordial mode for Sandstorm. It's not quite as horrible as it looks once you're used to like where the parts go and stuff, but yeah, this is halfway. This is the halfway mode for Sandstorm. What do they call them? Sworder. This is halfway. So it's a little crazy. It has a really high part count and a lot of complex little bits. Some of them seem kind of pointless to me. The aesthetic is not great. The robot looks pretty good. The helicopter looks decent, although the rotors are a little too close to the front for the length of the helicopter. The car is... I showed it to my wife, and she said it looked like the Wienermobile. It reuses a lot of the helicopter's curved surfaces and the color, orange and yellow. It really does look like the Wienermobile. But it's kind of fun. Like it's complicated and it's fiddly and it's got a little bit that that Fans Toys style swing arms and linkages. I mean, look at this one. I mean, that's cheating. But I don't know. There's a lot that I like about it, and it's maybe a glimmer of the early approach for Unique Toys. I mean, technically, Sworder came out right before Springer, so this is like the evolution of them being a little more refined with their triple changers. But their very first one, Provider, was actually a really clean transformation. So I don't know. I don't know why they decided with Sworder to be so ridiculously complicated. But that's the primordial mode. That's what I got to deal with. So like a lot of Fans Toys, I'm gonna have to transform him part of the time laying down on the surface because I mean you can't stand him. He's all those joints in between are kind of floppy. Yeah, you have the Unique Toys Dragoon. That's a great figure. Lila, I don't know how to pronounce it properly. I have a video on that kind of shows what I think is the cleanest way to get from one mode to the other, but would put faith in Hasbro Takara. What is Reclaw talking about? TG for third party. If it folded into sword mode while still connected, I think it would be hid between the legs. I don't think the sword goes anywhere in vehicle mode. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Well, it's not a very messy transformation if you leave parts of it together while you finish the parts that you're dealing with. You should really watch my video on Dragoon and follow that, and you'll get a feel for how I approach something like that. Because ideally, in a transformation, you want to move a part like from where it's supposed to be to where it's going to end up. Move it and forget it. Like, never move that part again, because otherwise you get into what I call parking, which is like you move a part and then you got to kind of move it out of the way for another part. Dragoon has no parking and no clearance issues, provided you do it in just the right order. So you don't have Dragoon. Someone else said that. Yeah, well, people are wondering what you mean by Unique Toys Megatron. Unique Toys has made one Megatron, which is the movie Megatron Dragoon. You might have to clarify what you mean, because Unique Toys... I'm trying to think of a Megatron that Unique Toys made. I can't. Maybe I'm forgetting one? Yeah, you'll have to clarify, Lila. I don't know what Unique Toys Megatron is. Unique Toys never made a Megatron as far as I know. Yeah, it looks like Springer defeated Sandstorm. Poor Sandstorm. I know it looks crazy, but this is literally the halfway point. Like, this is like this for robot mode and for helicopter mode. But to get to robot mode, you have to pull this out so that you can flip out these waste fillers only for robot mode. And so therefore, normally this would be the primordial because it's robot mode and helicopter mode. Whereas, like this is car mode, But it's not really the primordial because I gotta open it up to make space to flip out those flank covers, those fillers. Who never made another what? Who's Amazing Perfect Transformation? I'm sorry about the delay, but it's hard to have like a real-time conversation. Are you still talking about whatever Megatron you're talking about? Because, I mean, you'll have to clarify because there ain't no Unique Toys Megatron. So there's some other Megatron you're talking about. Or you're talking about Dragoon. I don't know. Also got this for my birthday. Kind of a rarity. In Transformers Prime, Knockout had a buddy named Breakdown. Or Breakdown had a buddy named Knockout. I forget which one's which. But the little red car had a blue guy that was like his big lunky buddy. And they never really made a toy for it, at least here in the States. I got a gift card from my sister for my birthday. And I was looking on Amazon to spend it on something. And they had the blue version of this guy that was like the original character. But it was like $655. Like someone's just doing this crazy pie in the sky price. And then I spotted this one, which is an Autobot recolor of that Decepticon. And it's the same mold. I just wanted to experience like how it transformed. And so I went ahead and got this guy, even though he's not really the original one. I mean, it'd still be nice to have the original buddy of Knockout or Breakdown, one of the two. But not at that price. It's just a cheap... I mean, this is like what was originally like a $20 Voyager figure. Just never released in the States. You had to get the Takara one. But this flips up like this. And then this untabs. And you straighten the legs out. And you begin to rotate this a little bit. So you can get the feet out. Rotate a little more. Feet. And then before you go all the way with it, this panel flips around and fills the inside of his leg. Plus it gets rid of that panel. I like designs where they find, like, they take a big flat part and they just kind of hide it somewhere. Unique Toys, of course, is like geniuses at getting rid of flat parts. The arms flip out from the center here. So you can see how that kind of fits in there. But we flip that out 90 degrees sideways. And then this untabs. Hello. There you go. And you kind of rotate it forward most of the way. And then you can bring the arm out. And then you can bring it the rest of the way because there's those wing things. So we'll look at it from this angle. Untab. Rotate a little bit till it starts to collide. And then we can bring it out and rotate it the rest of the way. And then these go like this. You can unfold the forearms, and kind of a clever bit of engineering. This you flip around, put the windshield there, and the fist ends up there. And then you fold in the bumper. He even has that light piping they did later in the line, so this is definitely not, this isn't like a first edition sort of figure. It's one of the later figures. Oh, and you have to open the hood up. Or the top of the car, I don't know, whatever that is. And there he is. He's the Autobot version of Knockout or Breakdown or whatever. And his name is Swerve. So he was supposed to be a Swerve. There you go. Is this Breakdown? Is Knockout the car? The little car guy? Yeah, I think this is Breakdown then. I'm going to go with Breakdown until someone corrects me. The original Breakdown was blue, and it's very expensive, even outside of that insane person on Amazon, because it was very rare for some reason. I didn't even know this one existed. I'd seen the Silas redeco of Breakdown. And it's a little less expensive. Like, you can get it for like $100 or something, but still, like, I mean, it's like a freaking Voyager figure. And for some reason, Amazon had this guy that I'd never even heard of that's like an Autobot recolor of the same mold, with a different head, of course, for only $50. So it was a good opportunity to see what that mold looks like and kind of have that mold for the Prime collection that I have. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I kept getting the two of them confused because they both have like a, I don't know, like a K in the middle. Breakdown, Knockout, you know. But Knockout was the car. Breakdown is the big truck. Pretty decent show. Anyway, I think I've talked about everything interesting and new in my world. Sworder has a bunch of sword helicopter blades, by the way. There's 4 of them. So, any other questions or comments? I'll give you your 2-minute warning. So you have until 6:18 before I sign off. Or whatever time, 18 after whatever hour. Unless you're in one of those couple of weird places in the world that have like a time zone that's like half an hour off of something, and then I can't help you. I'm sorry. It's going to be like 48 or instead of 18. I don't know. But for most of you, 18 after the hour or 19 or 20 is when we're going to cut off this live stream. Always wonder why you're black. Okay, so the black background, I started taking pictures of Transformers on Instagram. I have an Instagram, like Instagram/PLSDrew, so you can, there's sometimes, like every Sunday when I finish shooting the figure I'm doing that week, I do like a quick picture of him at the end, and it's kind of a clue, like what I'm about to go edit and release as a video. But on Instagram, I would want to take You know, I used to have a light box, and like a white light box, and I'd want to take pictures with Instagram. And what I kind of discovered or noticed is that if you take a picture with the flash on and you have the background very far away, so I would put like a robot like on the arm of my couch, and there would be nothing immediately behind it, and then you take a picture of it with the flash, it lights up the robot real good, and basically everything else is black, so I don't have to show people like my house or something, the rest of my living room. So it was a really kind of easy way to isolate the robot, but I got used to that aesthetic. I like the black background. I mean, I kind of tell myself that on Cybertron there's no air, so there would be no blue sky. It would just be black. I don't know. Maybe there is air on Cybertron. I guess the humans always just go to Cybertron and breathe, but that's like a science fiction trope. Like everyone can breathe everywhere. Anyway, so I like the black background, and it's easy to maintain. A white box is hard because you can overlight the figure. I don't know. There's things I don't like about doing white backgrounds, but the black background is easy. I can change the exposure on the camera and give you an idea. So that's what's really going on back there. I just hung a black sheet back there in my office, and you know, it's just a black sheet back there. In fact, you know, part of the scene is that wood paneling. But if you light the figure sufficiently and you make things in the background as dark as possible, then you adjust your camera settings and suddenly the background is just black and you don't have to worry about what's there. Do you have any recommendations for figure stands? I kind of want some for my MP collection. I don't get into figure stands, so I don't have any recommendations. I've seen people, if you're talking about like getting a riser so that like you can have a robot a little higher than the other robots, I've seen people go to like organization stores or the organization section of Walmart and get like little plastic sort of bins or drawers, the clear plastic drawers, and you can use those to stand the figure on. But I've never used anything like that, so I don't have an opinion. Hi, Rarg. Is there someone else named Rarg? Is that me? Got a question. I've been trying all sorts of beverages while watching your streams. Tried Come Insider and then there's an old bit. There was a radio duo called Tommy and Rumble in Virginia Beach when I lived there. And they would do all kinds of sketches, and you get the impression that their sketches were kind of like purchased from like a sketch mill, like people that would write funny scripts and then have them do sketches. And they did a whole bunch. They had like 2 or 3 sketches that they did over the years that were like using the play on words Dickens cider. So they'd be like, I want to get my Dickens cider. It's just funny. But I'm sure lots of other radio DJs bought the same script and used it for their own sketches. But yeah, Doug, it's beefy. He's a good addition. He's maybe a little oversized for MP. He's like the size of like MP Ultra Magnus. They made him a little too big. If they made him a little smaller and maybe a little sleeker somehow, less chunky, then he wouldn't be him anymore. But it might fit the MP collection better. So far, my favorite one that I haven't done open and play. I've just seen pictures of it. But my favorite robot mode for Springer is the recent Mastermind Creations Ocular Max Springer. I didn't buy that one. It was loaned to me, and then you loan the figure, and then after I've experienced it, maybe I'm not so excited to spend money on it. But that was my favorite robot mode for Springer. I mean, I suppose Fans Toys is pretty, but the transformation is so eye-rolling. I can't give it points for that. Weapons grade Nucleon, right on. All right, well. You had some questions, so I stayed a little bit longer to answer those questions. And now I'm going to consider another 2-minute warning. So at 24, I'm going to sign off unless there's a really scintillating question I can't help but answer. Someday, the people watching this are going to conspire to keep me on the line for 6 hours. But I promise you, that's not going to happen. There comes a point. But if it's an interesting discussion, then it's okay. I'm thinking about doing like Discord. I have a Discord server. Maybe some way for people to donate money to me in exchange for access on Discord. I thought about doing like a live stream on Discord where me and some fans can actually talk live. I'm still working on that, experimenting with it. Barry, you're too much. That's funny. I don't think it was a cow. I hate to tell you. Yes, he has very thick legs. Very thick. He's a thick boy. He's a big corn-fed mofo. All right, folks. It's time for me to sign off. Everyone have a really nice coronavirus quarantine. Whatever. Hope you enjoy that. Learn some new skills like Barry, but maybe don't be that gullible. Maybe your stepdad doesn't have a cow for you to practice milking, and you should just maybe peek. Someone puts a blindfold on you, maybe find an opportunity to see what's really going on. You might be shocked and horrified. Everyone have a nice day, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.